What's happening, fellas? It's Steeler here, back again with my buddy D. And of course, we're going to be talking about a lot of interesting things. Forza Motorsport, they compared GTX 1070, 1080, 1060 to Project Scorpio. And of course, I'm talking about Digital Foundry. And we've got a whole lot of stuff, even a leaked spec list for Scorpio. We're not saying this is true, but we were just sent this by somebody that knows a lot of insider people, and we might get into that actually. But really, I wanted to start by covering the fact that I've been exposed. I've been exposed.
You was exposed. I exposed you, dealer.
Even though I put this on my Twitter, 10 hours ago, I put all this on my Twitter already. Black Mom's Beavertooth having ass. He made a video about me. Basically, a video I made, and I want to get into this real quick because I told everyone last night that were arguing with me that I would address it because I don't give a fuck. I didn't plan on this being an issue because it's a video from 2.5 years ago when I first started, where basically, here's what I say, and I've even got tweets from the guy that downloaded the video directly. This is from him, okay? He said, well, you say that from a distance, 720p and 1080p look the same. All right, and apparently I said 720p with good anti-aliasing looks as good as 1080p. Oh, shit, forgive me. You know what? If I had said 720p shits all over 1080p like a real crackhead 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't expect to be exposed over it 2.5 years ago. You get what I'm saying? If this is the links motherfuckers are going to try to expose me, I know it's hard because I got sources in the links of every single video, and if you watch the shit, you know I'm actually pretty fucking grounded with my thoughts on this stuff. You know, it is what it is. But if you're reaching that far back to expose me, which you didn't do, by the way, bitch, then that's a problem. And secondly, he lied in his videos and said nothing's important but resolution and all this shit, and I'm a hypocrite because I'm swapping. No, anyone who watches my videos and comment, if you have seen me say this, knows that I say frame rate over everything, and I still do. Stupid motherfuckers that don't look into anything before they make videos like this. So, I don't know, D. Just, go back and make sure you don't make any videos in the past. Make a time machine. You know what I'm saying?
You know, it's just pathetic because these guys are stooping to any type of level to deflect the news of Project Scorpio specs. These guys are feeling the fucking hurt.
Hang on, I did leave something out. I deleted that video, right? Which I was like, oh, one little Sony dick licker linked me to it. And he's like, oh my God, look what you said 2.5 years ago. I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I'm just going to delete it so I don't get any more shit from this stupid shit. All I said was 1080p looks almost identical to 720p if 720p is very well anti-aliased. That's all I said 2.5 years ago. So I was like, fuck this. I'll just delete it. And, of course, dick clickers, they do what they do. It isn't a big deal. I don't care. And like I said, I made a fucking tweet about it 10 hours ago. You're a little late to the party about exposing me. So if you want to check that out and go to dealer_gaming for all that shit, because I don't give a fuck. If people don't know me on my own channel, then it's not worth having a channel. You get what I'm saying? They also tried some race baiting bullshit last night. A bunch of little fucking frauds. I will never do that podcast again. Respect to BG. He seemed like the only decent guy there. Jack Move seemed cool. But, the rest of them, no. Definitely, they got, I don't know, bro. It's the equivalent of herpes in human form. Not fucking with it anymore. But shout out to Big BG. I'm sure he doesn't give a fuck if I do it either way. But, I'm just staying away from it. Anybody who has to race bait and do all this shit for views and then making money off the shit at the same time is pitiful. But anyways, now that we're done letting the room fill up, and of course my normal subscribers obviously have no clue who these fuckers are. Don't expect any more shit about this or any more replies. Not happening. Not into the drama bullshit. And I curb stomped the shit out of these motherfuckers last night anyway on the podcast. So we really wanted to talk about Digital Foundry's video today regarding Forza Motorsport 7. D, go ahead and lead the way on this one.
Yeah, so basically they confirmed what we already knew. So like these guys have like different videos out on different channels. So some of the information is like, it's all over the place. So not everybody's getting all the details, but the gist of it is that they just reconfirmed that Forza, they saw it running at 4K, 60 frames per second on Project Scorpio, with the only difference was with 4K with 4K textures. Then they also saw it running at 4K 60 frames per second with PC settings, and it still maintained a 4K 60 frames per second frame rate. Now, he did say that the GPU usage went up to about 88%, and the odd time it spiked up. But let's remember this is unoptimized code, and the fact that Xbox Scorpio is doing 4K 60 frames per second ultra textures is bananas. And he even went further. He did some tests. He did a test on the 1060, 1070, and a 1080. And only the 1070, well, I guess obviously the 1080, but the 10 out of the 1060 and the 1070, only the 1070 was able to keep pace with Project Scorpio, and it wasn't a like for like. It still dropped under 60 sometimes. So that just goes to show you how powerful their Scorpio engine is on the new Xbox. It's just ecstatic, and for all you Xbox gamers out there that Sony guys are saying this and saying that, just point people to that video because it's very informative and it gives you all the details. I don't understand how these guys are downplaying it when Digital Foundry, who is the lead guys that tell us the technologies behind our boxes, the lead pixel counters on the internet, are telling us one thing, and you guys are in complete denial, ignoring the facts. It's unbelievable.
And they will continue to be. We have to say something real quick because here's the problem I'm noticing. Even though my own subscribers know that I've been pretty close on Scorpio, right? The farthest I actually started out saying it was going to use the same Jaguar that's in the Pro, maybe upclocked. And then I went to a custom, maybe Puma / using Ryzen technology in the Puma, which is, I don't know, that's some kind of Jag Ryzen hybrid. And then I actually went as high as maybe a mobile version of a Ryzen that would be found on a laptop. We found out none of that stuff would work. And before it came out, I went back down to maybe some kind of Puma, custom Puma in my first Scorpio GPU benchmark video. So a lot of people are saying that, I was flat out wrong and all this shit. Like, they don't even watch the videos, right? They also said that I claimed Vega 100%. I did not. I said it's a high likelihood that we'll be using Vega Tech, which I think it might still be using some kind of implementation of Vega hybrid with Polaris. I mean, the PS4 Pro uses some Vega Tech, right?
Yeah, so I would assume this would have some.
Yeah. It does have some Vega Tech. But, either way, I feel like I was pretty close to accurate on a lot of this stuff, and people are acting like I was dead wrong or now I'm flip-flopping and saying other shit. Go back and watch the videos. They're right there. Right, as some people know, they're looking through shit that's 2 years old now, right? So I'm just saying that it's kind of stupid, and they're even saying that I've been saying resolution is king here lately and stuff. So motherfuckers don't watch shit. They look at thumbnails and titles, and they're retarded. And secondly, I wanted to say that all this stuff that we're talking about in this video from Digital Foundry is in the source. So if you're one of those guys going to say we're lying, go watch the video yourself. I always encourage everyone to do that. I don't do a video like this without a source. Never do. Unless I tell you at the beginning, hey, someone contacted me and they want me to let you know this, which has only happened like twice. Yeah. So it is what it is. Source will be in the description. This is very interesting because they literally went and saw Forza Motorsport at Turn 10, confirmed that it was running 4K 60 Ultra settings with the equivalent of 4XAA, running a solid 60, running completely unoptimized. This is the number one thing. Unoptimized. Simply ported. And I was talking to D earlier, and we were thinking, well, how the fuck is it keeping up with a 1070? Oh, well, I guess it's because it's got console optimo. It doesn't have console optimization because it was unoptimized, confirmed in the video I linked you in the description from Digital Foundry. None. Yeah. It was a straight port. So this thing is serious power because my RX 480 cannot come close. Not even close to doing that. This is much more powerful than an RX 480.
And they even went as far to say that the cars on the track, that every single car, all the polygons were being rendered. And the engineers over at Turn 10 said to Digital Foundry that, yes, it's a ridiculous use of GPU power, but we have it, so why not use it? And they were able to render, because usually it's just the main car that gets all the details, and the other cars are slightly less detailed. Every single car on that picture that they have out there, every single car on that grid had the exact same detail, exact same polygon count, because they had the extra GPU power just to do it. So they said, just because, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, and that's why he said it's a disgusting use, because console developers would never, ever keep the level of detail that high, that far out, where people can't even see the difference. They would never do it. And that's why they said in that video I linked down below, Digital Foundry said this is pretty much unprecedented they're just wasting GPU power for the first time ever on a console. What do
Just
you
the
think about
fact,
that shit?
just the, I'm still blown away. Just the fact a 1070 is no fucking slouch, and just the fact that the 1070 can just barely keep up, and it falls under a few times to the power of Project Scorpio running the same fucking game. That's just incredible. It's not optimized. Now we have Windows Central saying that the dev kits that these guys have, they're running at like 60%. And then I hear some people saying, yeah, they're running at 60%. And right now they're getting like 80% out of that 60% that they have. And then there's another SDK coming out before E3 that's going to boost up the power to near 100%. So like they don't even have full power. It's not even optimized yet. And they have so much room left to do more things. You guys out there are thinking that Project Scorpio is not going to blow minds, that's going to be even remotely similar to the PS4 Pro. You guys are sadly mistaken.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the guy, what's his name, Garrett Ledbetter or Richard Ledbetter, that's his name. He said that he sold a game running at 4K 60 ultra settings, and it was on average around 80% GPU load, unoptimized. At ultra with 4XAA, that's impressive, especially on a console that's going to come around in around $450. I think you go up or down either way, $50 in my opinion. Because hey, the manufacturer's been known to take losses on this. It's well documented that Sony lost $300 on every single PS3 that was sold for the first year until they
Yeah,
made that slim. Right? It
yeah.
cost them $900 something to make that thing because of that Blu-ray player. And I'm just saying that's part of why they lost 19 billion that generation alone because of that. So Microsoft could take a hit, 50 to $100. I think they're desperate enough or eager enough to regain their hardcore fans. Who knows? That's a possibility. Not to mention this kind of performance isn't as expensive as a lot of PC gamers would have you think anyway, right? So it's very interesting, man. This is crazy shit.
Yeah, and I want to just go into this information dump that I just received. So basically, it says Xbox Project Scorpio specs, all the information from the tech reveal. So it says it has a smart design plus sheer horsepower for true 4K HDR. It says the core of the system is the Scorpio engine, and the new SoC is developed by Microsoft in conjunction with AMD. Now, it's 16 nanometer FinFET chip produced by TSMC. It has 7 billion transistors. Now the CPU is there are 8 cores, custom 86 cores, 2.3
And
gigahertz.
you're reading this right from.
I got it. I got it inboxed to me, so it's like a spec
Okay, so
template.
yeah, that's what Microsoft's official spec sheets say. Eight custom x86 cores. We know they're Jag cores, right? This is something that needs to be clarified as well. They are
Yeah,
Jag cores,
but
but so is a Puma. Puma uses Jag
yeah,
cores, but it's just a more efficient Jag, right?
yeah.
So at the very least, hey, it's still Jag cores, but I would say it's a really custom Puma. I mean, here's something I didn't cover in my CPU video last time, I don't think. They optimized the silicon in 66 different ways to eliminate bottlenecks.
Yes.
Completely separate chip, completely custom. The PS4 Pro doesn't have this. It also doesn't
No.
have the integrated DX12 command processor. It doesn't have this stuff. It's not the same CPU that's in the Pro, the Xbox One, ramped up even higher. This is
No.
custom. It's a 31% boost to clock over Pro, but that doesn't mean it's only 30.1% more efficient. The bottleneck eliminations alone, and this is well documented from Digital Foundry, everything I'm saying alone, those bottleneck eliminations are going to go miles over the PS4 Pro
Well,
CPU.
this is what they say here. They say 31% faster than Xbox One's CPU with extensive customization to reduce latency, to keep the processor occupied and more to keep the processor more occupied, and it fully improves the GPU and CPU coherency. Now they also said that they moved the DirectX 12 chip into the GPU command processor, and it has a higher frequency, and the API is natively implemented into the logic command processor of the GPU, saving a lot of CPU resources. And it's been reported that devs have been able to cut 50% of CPU rendering overhead. That's crazy.
Might be a good time to mention the fact that Xbox One actually has a similar feature coming to it, also with Shader Model 6 and all this other stuff that I covered a while back. People think this is the same thing, though. The GPU command processor is different in the Scorpio, even though they do kind of similar things. it's a little different, and they've actually covered this on GAF as well. This is
Yeah.
more efficient than the Scorpio. It's better. That's why Digital Foundry covered it the way they did.
That's right. And they
So
and they moved
it
and
is,
they moved it from the CPU and they put it into the GPU, and
yeah.
then they also enabled it to do thousands of draw calls with just 11 instructions. It was not it was helping out the CPU and the regular Xbox One, but it wasn't to the extent. And Microsoft had clarified saying that it's a different chip and that it's much, much more powerful, and it just adds to what they were doing before. It's a lot more powerful. Now, of
It,
course,
go ahead.
I was going to say the GPU, of course, we know it's six teraflops. It says 40 customized compute units clocked at 1172 megahertz. It's got four times L2 cache size, two times the amount of shader engines, so four shader engines each with 11 compute units, one disabled to increase the chip yields. So that's basically a 2.7 times boost of triangle and vertex rates. It's really technical. I don't want to go through all of them here because you guys pretty much know most of the
It's
details. One
better,
terabyte.
goddammit. It's better.
Yeah, it's just a lot better. We're gonna get Dolby Atmos. The game DVR has AMD have a codec that it can capture 4K 60 frames per second, HDR videos as well. So you'll be able to capture HDR videos, and I'm presuming you'll be able to upload it to like YouTube and these other
Yeah,
sites.
it does so much shit that the CPU and the X1 and the PS4 don't do. It's just silly to just say, oh, it's a Jag, it sucks. Yeah, I agree, it's not a Ryzen, but as I literally made a video 4 or 5 months ago called "Why Ryzen May Not Be Xbox Scorpio CPU," right? And people say I said Ryzen was. I literally told people to back off of that notion. At the most, it would be a mobile version if it did happen, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that people got this shit mixed up. The facts are in the videos, particularly the ones that aren't 2.5 years old,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of bullshit. Digital Foundry did say today that this thing basically has much more left in it.
Hmm.
Speaking on Scorpio, this thing was completely unoptimized. Has been confirmed by Digital Foundry. Unoptimized, a straight port. How many times have you ever heard that? Well, not only
Yeah.
did they say 4K 60 was impossible, but they're doing this shit unoptimized at all. Straight port on ultra settings, 60 frames, 4K. Get the fuck out of here, right? There's
Well,
obviously some more left in this thing, right?
yes. Well, for me, it doesn't. At first I said, "Oh, it doesn't have a Ryzen CPU," and then after they dived into the specs, I was like, I could care less if it has a Ryzen CPU because it doesn't matter what it has in there. It matters the outcome. What it produces, and this system is producing 4K 60 frames per second graphics. It's been confirmed, and that was the number one thing that a lot of PlayStation fans said out there. I said, "Oh, it's not going to get 4K 60 frames per second. Forget about it." Right here, we have confirmation that it is doing 4K 60 frames per second. And of course, we got that new hardware implementation. I think people are understating this, how they moved it from the CPU to the GPU, and it assists with the command processor in talking from the CPU to the GPU, doing thousands of calls with just 11 instructions. And what they're essentially doing is removing any type of bottleneck that CPU would have in talking to the GPU. Now, I put up a video today on my channel of Major Nelson and what's his name, Albert Pinello. Now they went into the specs and they explained it in a very simple way, and and he was also talking about how it's important to have the GPU and the CPU to talk, and for them to be able to move data back and forth without any bottlenecks, and how they designed the system. They go into great detail. Dealer will leave a link, I guess, down below for my channel. You guys can go look at it over there. But I really, really stress that you guys watch this video because it goes into great detail, but it's done in such a simplistic way that all gamers will be able to understand it.
Yeah, and he told me too that every one of you that subscribe will give you a hand job. So I mean, people do that for some reason. So it's a thing. Uh, yeah, go over there, especially for TV stuff, and be sure to hit that like button. Show some support because hey, you guys are awesome. And if you want to know how I got exposed,
Expose! I'm gonna expose you, dealer.
motherfuckers reaching so hard. Oh, this shit's hilarious. I could have said cancer is good 2 years ago, and they made a video about me like, holy shit, this was 2 years ago. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm just saying this shit's crazy. But yeah, go back to the beginning of the video to see how I got exposed. I'm so terrified. That's why I exposed myself over 10 hours ago on Twitter.
And like it makes no difference what these guys say, what these guys do.
Nah.
Project Scorpio is going to be a more powerful system than the PS4 Pro. We're going to have 4K native 30 and 60 frames per second games on it. Some of them are going to have ultra PC settings, and you know what? The PS4 Pro won't be able to compete with it. And a 2-year-old video does not negate that.
Nah, and it like I said, let's not blow the shit out of proportion. I said 720p looked as good as 1080p at a distance with anti-aliasing or some shit, right? I
Which
covered
is
it at the
true.
beginning.
Which is
Yeah,
true
which
because
is technically true. So.
720p, the big difference between 720p and 1080p, of course, the resolution is different. But the reason how you can see that is different is because it's usually softer and it's got more aliasing on it. Now, if you increase the aliasing, and it's been proven scientifically, just Google it. If you're a certain distance back, you're not really going to notice a difference. So it wasn't inaccurate what he was saying.
Either way, even if like I said, if I said it was better than 1080p, something I said 2.5 years ago, first starting YouTube, which that's not what I said. I'm just saying, like, if this is how far people got to go to try to expose me and make videos about me, thanks for the advertising, bitch. That's all I got to say. Like, anyone who comes here and fucks with me, 99% of the haters end up being like, oh, okay, and I never hear from them after the first week. So it is what it is. I'm pretty fucking grounded. And remember, none of these frauds on these other podcasts were saying this thing's going to do 4K or 4K 60. And if it was going to be $700. Remember that, because people like me and D and all these other people, we kept it really realistic and we were the crazy people. So maybe think about that next time somebody calls somebody a liar or
And
they don't know what they're talking about, because we were right on the money. Those motherfuckers were way off and they're still in disbelief.
Yeah,
So
and with the custom solution that Microsoft has done here, there's no way this console is going to be $700. I don't even think this console will be $500. I think at the most it'll be $500, but I really think it's feasible to see this console anywhere from 400 to 450. Honestly.
and it is kind of a compliment to the console that people, think it's going to be so expensive, right? So
Yeah.
just to reiterate, yes, Digital Foundry did put up 1070, 1060, 1080, and do the same exact settings with 4XAA at 4K 60 versus the Scorpio version, and only the 1070 and above, and even the 1070 dropped, could even compare. We're not saying that it's as powerful as a 1070 at
No.
all, but we are saying that some magic's going on here, and even the fact that they can compare it to a 1070 is awesome. We're not saying it's better. Calm the fuck down. We're not saying that it's going to destroy a 1070. We got PCs as well. We get it. Like, things happen, especially on
But
PC side. That's just an advantage consoles have sometimes.
and also too, the differences too with the 1070 is the 1070 doesn't do DX12 nearly as good as AMD does it, and of course Project Scorpio is running full AMD hardware, so the DX12 optimization or the DX12 code is definitely going to run better on that console than it does on that card. So that's another factor. But just the fact that the 1070 is struggling to keep pace with Project Scorpio, any way you slice it is amazing.
Yeah, not to mention like asynchronous compute and all that shit, right? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. AMD are definitely on the money to get a console to clock this high. 1172 and a fucking APU and a console is kind of insane. That's one reason we all thought it might be using some kind of Vega, because
Yeah.
AMD cards didn't even clock that high a year or two
No,
ago. You
no,
got to
no, no.
understand,
The
this is
the,
the
the base
latest
the
Polaris.
the base RX 480, it comes at yes, you can overclock it to 1266, but it comes at 1120. That's
And
lower.
yeah, and we didn't expect a console to be clocked this high, because normally they underclock these things. They don't want to run it at its absolute max, because that stresses the hardware out, and these things need to last 5 or 10 years. So we were assuming it was around 60 to 64 compute cores at a much lower clock cycle, around 800 megahertz would equal about 6 teraflops, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
And it turns out they fucking made this vapor chamber cooling system, the centrifugal fan, so they can basically spin the fan at a lower RPM and move more air over the chip, right? That's the point of
yeah,
a centrifugal fan. You get more cooling with less RPM. They're doing all this shit like that
yeah,
never been done before in a console. And
yeah.
so, hey, I'll take that. I was
I, I mean,
wrong for even implying that it's a high possibility that it's just pure Vega, because they surprised me. It's second generation Polaris, and it's running very, very fast.
and even Digital Foundry, let's not get this twisted. Even Digital Foundry thought that they were possibly going to be using Vega and just use a lower clocked Vega variant. They thought the same thing too. So
Yeah. Did they?
yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
Oh, wow.
I noticed. I noticed on his reveal, he was quick to pat his back on his Jaguar CPU prediction, but he said nothing about them thinking it was Vega. Yeah, he thought it would be Vega with 50 CUs just downclocked. Yeah, he did think that.
Well, even on the Jaguar, he wasn't spot on the money because
No, he
it's
wasn't. He wasn't. It's yes, it derives from the same architecture, but Microsoft has heavily
this
customized
is
it.
what he said, like in a video straight from him. This has not been done before, where they've optimized and customized the silicon to meet the software. This hasn't been done before. So because they were able to actually run three X1 games on the Scorpio, just ported right,
Yeah.
and on different little kind of dev kits that were developing the silicon for this thing, and they were able to identify bottlenecks for different game engines and different games. And of course, most of the big games use very similar engines, so they were able to get rid of 66 bottlenecks in the hardware and the way this thing was built alone. This isn't just a typical Jaguar. This is so much further than that in regards to how it's built, right? The bottlenecks are, and all
and
that
and
shit.
that and that's incredible in its own right. The fact that they actually went and analyzed all of the game engines running on Xbox One, identified all the bottlenecks, and then designed hardware around that to not have any bottlenecks that the previous generation or the previous console had. That's just incredible, and that is like complete dedication. And people are forgetting how powerful and mighty Microsoft is with software implementation.
Yeah,
They are number one.
and
There's
it all
nobody
seems
better.
too good to be true, right? Like I know we're going to get that in the comments eventually, but sad fact is, this has been confirmed not only by Microsoft but by Digital Foundry. They've seen it themselves, and I think the Forza Tech engine speaks for itself. Unoptimized, 100% zero.
Yeah.
None of this. Hey, let's do this to get a little more here. Hey, let's reduce level of detail 200 feet out. So because you can't tell the difference anyway. You're wasting power. Nothing.
And for
So I'll confirm in the link down below and on their channel. They've done several videos on this. We're just bringing you what they've said. And no, we don't think it's gonna fucking destroy 1070s or anything. We think there's some magic to this console that's never been in any other console ever.
and it doesn't need to destroy 1080 or 1070. I don't need 4K 80, 4K 90 frames per second. I'm okay with 4K 60 frames per second, man.
Apparently,
PC
some people
guys
think
go ahead.
that every game's going to be 4K 60 though, right? Like as they
No,
touched on the podcast, like
it's
no one
not.
ever said that. And go
No,
back
it's
and look at
not.
the videos instead of making assumptions. We said 4K 30 will be common at high settings on AAA games, especially around launch, and you'll even get some at 4K 60 high settings. That's what we've said, and fuck, those are the videos you should be watching. Stupid fuckers, man.
Yeah, I would go even further. I can't say too much on the 4K Ultra 60s, how many games are gonna apply it, but at that performance and how we're seeing how it equates to the 1070, I'm quite confident to say it's gonna do 4K Ultra 30 frames per second on most games too.
Oh yeah, it crushes my RX 480 just from what I've seen, and it was already running faster. I can't get those results on the RX 480 at 4xAA.
No.
I had to run it at 2x, and in crashes and shit, it'll drop to like 56. I showed the results in the top comment of my Scorpio, my second Scorpio GPU benchmark video, where I hit up to 110 FPS and all that shit. Right? I
Yeah.
showed it. And I said, this is why it's possible. I think it's going to be a little faster than the RX 480. I can't get the results they're getting
Yeah.
on my
I
card.
just I just
And
need
that's
this
unoptimized on their end. So
I just need this console to do 4K Ultra 30, 4K Ultra 60. I'm happy with that. It's isn't console is not a big pissing contest like PC is. Like I don't know, PC market is like a mess right now. You have like they just released a GTX, I don't know, Pascal little P, and people that just bought the card before it for the same price are losing out now because this new card came out that has like twice the performance of it for the same fucking price. But at the same time, they have so much performance over there. Like, what do you need it for? Like that card is overly like it's too powerful. Like
well, you get
there's nothing that takes advantage of the
the
power on
dudes
it.
that Google benchmarks is what they do, and they say there's still not a card that can do 1080 or 4K 60, all this shit, and it's like
That's bullshit.
they don't even have PCs. They don't even look into the fact that those benchmarks have like all the AA activated and all this shit, right? Like shit you wouldn't run in real life. So
Of course, of course. And there's always tweaks like you can run the ultra textures just sometimes by throwing down shadows you hit 60 frames per second. And
Yeah.
once again, in a fucking console where they target one set of hardware, they can easily optimize this. So like it's funny to see these guys downplay it and the denial. It really is funny. It's frustrating at the same time too because the evidence is presented right in front of their face and they're like, no, nah, nah, nah. So it's kind of hilarious, but the fact is this is what we're getting. And if you guys think you're hurting bad now, you're gonna hurt a lot more come E3 and you see these games running on Project Scorpio. So I advise you guys start saving your money. Look into trading in your PS4 to get Project Scorpio because I guarantee you the games are gonna look 1,000 times better. And when Digital Foundry starts doing their face-offs, Scorpio against PS4 Pro, oh man, it's not gonna be pretty because the difference is vast. It's gonna be vast.
In the GPU alone, it's anywhere from 25 to 30 FPS, no problem. Just
And
that alone, without the CPU or RAM bottlenecks on the Pro, you're going to see just 30 FPS on the GPU side boost on the Scorpio alone. I called this fucking months ago.
yeah, and as you're saying there, like I hear some people say, oh, like in the podcast you did yesterday, oh, the CPU is just 31% better. It's just clocked a little bit faster. First of all, we're gonna go one more time. It's not just clocked faster. It's got different cores. It's beefed up. They got a hardware chip on the command processor that helps with the draw calls. The GPU is more powerful. You got a higher memory bandwidth. You got a higher bit bus on it. Because of this, you're gonna get better textures. You're gonna get a better texture fill rate. Like I can go on and on. The
Yeah,
advantages
they're really
are
not
vast.
comparable.
It's
They're really
it's
not
it's
comparable.
it's not comparable, and it's not so simple as the numbers on paper would suggest. Yes, it's more powerful, but it's a lot more powerful than those numbers suggest because you got to put all of those percentages together. You're just going to get a different level of games, different level of graphic fidelity on Project Scorpio, and in my opinion, it's undeniable.
Yeah, because I run the same exact Forza demo that Digital Foundry did on my PC, right? And I can get some decent frames as I showed it. But then I go and play games like Shadow of Mordor and do 4K ultra setting, everything, tessellation, everything activated at 4K, and I can get up to 55 frames per second.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
there is
got that
no
too.
way that Shadow of War is not 4K. There's no way Red Dead's
Yeah,
not 4K. There's no way Destiny 2 is not 4K. There's no way Assassin's Creed, even though Ubisoft suck at all, pretty much almost
yeah,
hardware optimization, probably isn't 4K. But hey, I might hold a little bit out on Assassin's Creed because Ubisoft, who fucking knows? I'm just
yeah,
saying, you're getting a true beast, and you're not just getting resolution. You're getting settings. There's a reason Turn 10 showed Digital Foundry all the settings ramped up. They said they had enough room to do that and more with no optimization. We're kind of drilling this shit into the ground more than we need to. I know you guys are very smart. If you tune in here, you're pretty in tune with everything. But once again, if you didn't see the beginning, some very important stuff said at the beginning of the video, be sure and go back and check that out when the video uploads. And if you want me to reply to any of your comments, go ahead and comment on the video when it uploads to the channel as well, because the chat goes by too fast for me to keep up with on this channel. So you guys are awesome. Go ahead and follow D. I'll link his shit down below as well. And give them your Twitter real quick.
my Twitter is Gemini002CA, and of course, you can reach me on YouTube at DBatch.
And this is how stupid these Sony guys are, right? I know me and D already talked about this already, but on last night's podcast, we were talking about D a little bit, and they went as far to say that I was saying all this shit about him that I didn't even fucking say. D went and watched a video and smacked the shit out of all of them in a message, right? This is how delusional these Sony guys are, how full of shit they are, literally
Yeah,
putting words in people's mouths, trying to create lies. So
yeah.
it is what it is. If you want
Yeah,
to,
they're harping on that because I said Ryzen was gonna be inside
it's all
of
right.
Scorpio.
They said it wouldn't even do 4K, so they're way wronger than
But
you, right? So
yeah, and it doesn't really matter because we're speculating on that, and a lot of people did think it was going to be Ryzen. Some didn't. Some kept
yeah,
it more modest. But regardless,
we didn't
the
plan on
end
them optimizing the silicon like
no
this or any of the
no
shit they're
the
doing.
end
So.
result is the same. The end result is the same. 4K 60 frames per second. Read it and weep.
Gotcha, bitch. Anyway, once again, guys, hit that finger bang that like button, and we really appreciate the support. Thanks for rocking out with me. Thanks for all the support last night. You guys had my back on some of the bullshit that was going on Twitter, and of course, once again, tune into the beginning of the video for how I got exposed. It's a good story. It's a good laugh. But anyways, I'm Dealer. Like, comment, share, subscribe if you know this shit. We're out.
Peace.